Welcome, Beauty and the Beat Radio. How are we doing today? Welcome, Dr. Keisha. How are you?
I am great. Happy to be here.
Happy to be here.
Yes.
How was your week?
It was good. It's
good?
Actually continuing. It's still going.
It's still going. Okay.
Still going.
So, how was your weekend?
My weekend was short.
Short.
Yes.
We had a few events going on this weekend. So we have you in here talking with us today. We have a double guest show today. We have the licensed marriage and family expert, or should I say therapist? Are you you're an expert in a lot of fields, right?
Yes.
Okay, within the psychotherapy realm. We're going to get into exactly what kind of stuff you deal with and talk to people about today.
All right. Sounds
All right.
good.
Okay, Wes, how are you doing?
Yo, I need to go to South Carolina.
What's in South Carolina?
Whoop that cop ass, man. Dragging that little girl across that desk like that. I'm sorry, I'm starting with a hot topic already. But, that got me kind
I
of...
did see that. I did. What was that about? I didn't see with volume.
Well, first and foremost, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon.
A young lady, I forgot in high school, I guess the teacher told her to put her phone away. So I will say she was disobeying. I guess she was on Instagram. In class.
School. Okay.
In class. And I guess the teacher said, put your phone away several times, and she did not. So I guess the police officer was called. And I guess he told her several times the same thing. And I guess his patience ran thin. And he, put matters in his own hands and flipped her and dragged her out of class.
I did see that, but is this school police or was that an actual?
It was actual cop, South Carolina police. I don't know what city it was in. I forgot to get that particular area, but it was North Carolina or South Carolina? It was North Carolina? It was one of them Carolinas. Wherever Carolinas. It was sheriff.
Was he commanded?
It was a deputy, huh?
Yeah, they said on the radio he just fired.
Yeah, they just got fired today. So, if you want to say that's justice, so what? But still, that was a high school kid, let alone a female. Why you had to put hands on her? You could have maybe done something else. I know there's other ways to go about it, but you didn't have to flip her the way he did and manhandle her as such. And it's just uncalled for. And I'm tired of seeing this continuously across the nation. So, and granted, the young girl should not have been on her phone. She could have waited until after class. So I definitely will have the teacher's side on that. But still, you don't have to put hands on her like that. So.
That's what detention. Extra
is
homework.
Something. Granted, take the phone from her.
Right.
That's it. Take the phone. Being a former teacher myself, and I had middle school, and I also taught on the college level. But I remember times my middle school students would test me and challenge me, and I had to, make sure I breathe easy, take a deep breath. They're human.
Woosah.
Okay. But I also have to challenge the parents.
Right.
Yes.
The parents raise your kids better. Not saying you're not. And we all going through something.
Well, just have an open discussion kind of. With
something.
Them. Okay.
Something.
Dr. Keisha, being a licensed therapist yourself, how do you feel like right now with the state of how the police are kind of like on edge? Do you think they need, I know they have like training, but do you think they need some kind of therapy sometimes?
I do.
Anger management, maybe anything like that? What do you think, with the Mike Browns?
I do. I actually feel like all of the police officers should go through some type of psychological training or psychological evaluations a couple of times throughout their term of being a police officer, just to kind of see where they are, where their mindsets are, because they go through a lot as well. We don't know if they're being reactive because of something that they've been through in the past, but definitely just to better understand how to deal with society now, especially with everything that's going on.
Right. I think sometimes it seems like they're desensitized.
Yeah.
In a sense. That's so odd. What else is going on in our hot topics? Anything interesting?
We got to bring up sports. Game 1 of the World Series was yesterday. Shouts out to New York Mets and the Kansas City Royals. Kansas City's up 1-0. So shouts out to the KC people. I know they're going crazy.
Bring on the Lakers.
Right on.
I was going to say,
the NBA, what happens in baseball.
The NBA season has started as of yesterday. The Golden State Warriors, the reigning champions, received their beautiful rings and was able to raise their banner and won last night, beating the New Orleans Pelicans by a nice substantial margin. But more importantly, Steph Curry, the reigning MVP, had 24 points in the first quarter of the first game of the season. So I think he's out to prove, this wasn't a fluke. And outside of those particular things, sports kind of was.
Did you watch any Love and Hip Hop?
I have not watched any Love and Hip Hop in a couple weeks. I just got tired of it.
I know.
I just got tired of the drastic drama and just the I'm tired of us looking so bad. I'm just tired of us looking so just like, yeah,
Doctor, I have you in the building. Like, we have these hot topic discussions, and we talk about different shows. We talk about different shows and how we feel about them. But lately, I feel like on some of the, like, say, Love and Hip Hop franchise, they are not, like, using the platform to really promote themselves, like, in a business way. It's like fight. Do you think that's something that's by the producers, or is that something that they're just happy to be on TV?
Whew. Once again, I think that there's something called triggers, which I think that we are familiar with.
Producers pull the triggers.
Yes.
They do. I've seen that.
I do feel, though, that the cast members or the people on TV are put into situations where it may be hard for them to handle themselves in an appropriate manner. And then they probably regret it after the fact.
Right.
But I do feel like there are triggers. They're put into certain situations that causes them to react a certain way. So it's just kind of it's a messed up situation because, again, I agree with you. They should be using the platform to promote themselves, brand themselves. These are individuals that are coming out for the first time on TV, and then they're fighting people. So, yeah.
And they will regret that.
Yeah.
So, what led you to become a psychotherapist? And tell me exactly what that entails.
Okay. So, first, I do want to thank you guys again for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming and sharing yourself and your expertise.
No worries. It is a pleasure, and the energy is great in here. But I was raised in an underprivileged area, what some would call an underprivileged area right outside of Chicago.
Okay.
And people didn't have a lot of resources to help other people, due to financial hardship or whatever was going on in their lives. However, I just always like helping people.
Right.
It might have been my grandmother, my mother, my cousins, my friends of friends, or what have you, but I was that one that people would say, if you need some help with something or something figured out, go to Keisha.
My girl Keisha. Dr. Keisha. We can't misrepresent.
But at that time, I did not know that therapist was what I wanted to be. I hadn't figured that part out yet. It wasn't until after I graduated with my first degree and I started a job at a college working with students that I truly understood how powerful words were, or words are. The impact that encouragement can have on people, and to see and witness people be empowered. And then on top of all of that, to just see how well people took to me, how they received whatever my message was, for that day. And it was at that time I was like, okay, therapist, that's the word. That's what I want to do. That's what.
So growing up, we're in Chicago, was it about the circumstances as far as the neighborhood, or was there anything traumatic, say, that happened that you had to deal with or overcome that also led you in this field, or was it just about helping others?
I think it's a combination. Definitely just always wanted to help people out, and I think that I have a creative mind, so just figuring things out. Like literally people would go to her. It could be for whatever. But then also my personal circumstances. I have children, and I wanted to do something different so that I can provide for them. Right. So.
What brought you to Los Angeles from Chicago? Was it school?
No.
Okay, I was like, so, because you went to school in Chicago, right?
Yes.
So what brought you out here?
Actually, my grandmother moved out here shortly after maybe my high school years, and I used to just come out here and visit her. And I always said I was going to move out here once I graduate from college, because I just love the weather, love the people, and hey, now I'm here.
Our weather is awesome this summer.
Yeah.
Because Chicago, I remember going one day in Chicago in the winter, and it blew me. I had to walk backwards.
Ooh. Yeah, the Windy City.
The Windy City.
The bear.
That it is.
I love it, though.
I'm
Okay.
assuming you're a Bears fan and a
Yes.
Bulls fan
Chicago
and a
Bulls all day.
Blackhawks and Cubs or White Sox.
Neither. I'm just not into. If
Not
I had to
into
choose,
baseball?
it'd be Cubs.
Okay. Okay.
Just because.
I just like to hear the opening song when baseball comes on. I really can't follow it when it's going on. I don't know what's going on. I just know they're hitting the ball.
You ain't missing much.
I know. It's just like a very slow game.
You ain't missing much. Now, if you go to a game, I mean, I like to go just to eat some Dodger dogs or something. That's about it.
Okay. Going back to therapy, do you feel like with helping people and overcoming things, what is one of the most common things that people come to you in your practice to talk about? Are there like a lot of common interests with symptoms?
Because I deal with everybody,
Mm-hmm.
couples, families, adolescents, they come in with so many different things. But when I work with couples, per se, the relationship issues, usually I'm like the last resort most times. They're coming into therapy to have me fix it. And I have to always remind people I'm not a fixer, but we're going to work together to figure things out. But it's an array of different things. I mean, I can't narrow it down. I deal with people who have gone through domestic violence, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, anxiety, but more than not, couples. primarily.
Couples.
Yeah.
So, speaking of that, like relationships are hard. They're work actually.
Yes,
you know
they
what
are.
I mean? Beneficial, but it's work. So people come to you to fix it. Do you ever think that it's kind of better that you go to marriage pre-counseling?
I do,
You
absolutely.
do? Do you do that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And can I explain why?
Yes.
What I have found over the last 10 years of doing this, that people or partners truly don't know each other. They can live with one another for 3-4 years and really don't understand or know their past history, family history about each other. Some people don't even know each other's favorite colors. It's really interesting. And then I find that a lot of people, that a part of a partnership is cooperation. You have to compromise. And we're trained to think as individuals. And so what ends up happening is that when you're put together, you have to get adjusted or accustomed to, sharing someone else's dreams or aspirations or aims or desires, and that's difficult for some people. So if that's not intact, then you typically will have issues. So my goal is to help navigate through triggers, help people understand each other's perspectives, or the couples understand each other's perspectives, and then we see what we come up with.
So you're the neutral party in all this.
Absolutely. Cannot get triangulated into a situation.
When
Wow.
you have couples like Joey Crack, aka Joe Budden, how can you handle such?
Who?
Joe Budden, he's on the
Oh.
latest.
Okay.
There.
Well, we're not going to talk about their personal because they actually are going through their own individual therapies.
Okay.
But what is it like? Just speaking on that, in your practice in your field, you treat families, relationships. So sometimes it's 2 people. Sometimes it might be a family of 5. How is it when you have 5 people, say, in your office or something, or a household being, a resident, and they all have different issues, egos, they want to tell you something. I saw somebody, what was that? Oh, I was watching her tell on somebody, and you were just like, How do you deal with all the opinions going on in one session to get to a solution versus just everybody going, yeah.
First off, in the initial session, it is important to set boundaries.
Okay.
Boundaries is the stepping stone. It's like the foundation for any therapy, just in my opinion. We set the rules and also rapport building. So if I have a good relationship with whoever I'm treating from the beginning, and if I say while they're yelling, stop, then 9 times out of 10 they'll stop. Or I can get them to connect with me in the moment to, get them away from whatever it is that's going on or causing the conflict. But to answer your question, setting boundaries from the gate. And I handle or work with individuals where there may be 6 people in a family, they're all around the couch. But we have rules where one person talks at a time. Sometimes I let them interact just so I can see how
Or
what's
they're
going
trying
on.
to get out.
Yeah. Well, and also it's important to see how they interact so that I can visualize and see what goes on when I'm not present. And then that helps me to help them through their process.
when I'm up at night, like I think I have some form of like can't sleep for longer than 4 hours or something. So I'll be like, okay, the TV's off, but then I'll turn it back on. It's always some kind of commercial where they're trying to treat an ailment, whether it be depression, anxiety, this. I was like, if you're not like, you'll be like, okay, I need like 10 medications. Is that in your practice? Is it all about therapeutic, like talking, healing, coping mechanisms, behavior, or is it something that you would treat with medication? Like, what's the guidelines for something like that?
So I can't really speak on medication per se, but what I can say is I believe that we try to exhaust everything organically.
Okay.
Yes. Usually medication can come into play for like people who, have ADHD. I work with kids and things of that nature, but I would refer someone out to see a psychiatrist.
Okay.
But more than likely, there's so many different techniques and tools out there that we want to try first before we just kind of refer out to get medication. And then, medication has, severe side effects and things of that nature, so we try to not go
be
the
habit
yeah,
forming.
exactly.
So what would someone expect from a typical session? Would it be just going over the boundaries or the rules, or what would I expect if I were to come in to your office and say, Dr. Keisha, I need therapy?
Well, first off, I have to make sure that you are comfortable and really, really stress the importance of this being a safe environment. Like in here, the energy is great. No, I'm just joking. But so basically just really setting the stage for what's to come and explaining what to expect in therapy. Like, you have to do that. You have to set the expectations, answer all questions, just so that we're on the same page. And a therapist's ultimate goal, in my opinion, is to provoke movement. Because as you know, a lot of people get stuck. They're depressed, they're dealing with anxiety, they just don't know how to move forward. So my job is to provoke movement.
So how do you do that? Like, is it all about creating like some type of activities?
Challenging your thoughts. So if someone is dealing with depression, right? Depression, there's a couple of things with depression. Depression could stem from some type of trauma that a person has been through. But oftentimes people are dealing with irrational or faulty thoughts. And it stems from distorted cognitions that started early on. So I challenge those thoughts.
So like someone might have a woe is me or need sympathy all the time, and they're always stuck in this zone.
Right.
Get them out of that zone.
Right, by challenging them, like proving validity. Like if someone grew up and they were told that they were overweight, and they kind of, have formulated in their heads like, I'm overweight, and I'm looking at them and they're not overweight. Let's prove that. Like, I'm gonna challenge that, that thought. Things of that nature, just something like that. Yeah.
So what is the benefit of, say, group therapy? Because one-on-one or counseling with the family is one family that they all know what they're expecting to talk about or what problem or issue they're trying to solve. But say when you're in a group setting, and I'm not talking about any one particular person or another, but we do know you from the hit show Couples Therapy with Dr. Jen. So it's just like, what is the benefit when you're in a group setting? Because some people can be intimidated by discussing and revealing all of their problems.
Right.
But then sometimes I'm like, well, maybe you can learn from each other. So what do you think is the benefit of group therapy?
It's exactly what you said.
Okay.
So that we could benefit from, the couples or the clients can benefit from each other. Because a lot of times you want to be amongst your peers, your colleagues, or what have you, and if you share the same experiences, it makes it that much more better, or you understand what I'm going through, or somebody will call you out on your BS or what have you, but it's just one of those things where you could benefit and learn from each other.
Do you ever feel like, or not, do you feel like sometimes with the camera being there, people kind of act out for the camera? Without, like, say if they don't want to reveal something, they might act out just because the camera's there versus really exercising some real therapeutic options?
I think so. I do. I think so. I do. I know with our show, it's real therapy. We work under our licenses or what have you, and the couples are coming in for treatment. And Dr. Jen does a really good job with doing what she does. Best.
So a lot of stuff we don't get to see, especially if it's too personal, right? So they actually are going through a real therapy session where they're resolving their marital or their family or their couples or their issues?
Intense.
It's so intense.
It's intense, and that's why we're there to assist Dr. Jen and just make sure, everything is intact, So we're part of the treatment. I'm a part of the treatment team, and just to assist the couples as best as possible. But it's really intense. It's a good group of couples this season. Really dynamic group.
How do you keep your calm? You seem like you have a total zen about yourself. Because I know it's a lot. I know sometimes it's like you can't be. I could see that you're neutral, but I mean, it's like, okay, get out of my. Like, what do you do to keep your calm? I know you've been tested.
Practice. Practice. No, you know what? I just don't take anything personal. I just don't. In my earlier years of graduate school, I actually had to take a class, on that. Like, you don't take anything personal. When you leave that door or leave out of that office, you leave it there because it's not your stuff.
Right.
And if you do, you have to go and talk to someone about it. So just because we're therapists, we have therapists, they have therapists, we have people that are there for us. But to answer your question, it's just practice. But I don't take anything personal. If I did, I wouldn't make it.
You wouldn't make it?
I wouldn't make it.
Do things ever get physical amongst, say, groups or something?
Actually, on the show, no.
You guys have someone there for that?
Yes. But in my personal, not personal, but in my work environment, because I work with juvenile delinquents and I work with foster care youth and in groups, yes, absolutely.
Okay. I have a question as it relates to show. It's not the couples therapy, but on Love and Hip Hop, we're always talking about that. And I know you recently did a study on how heterosexual men are participating in same-sex relationships and undercover about it. I mean, it's always been out there, but more and more, I think the topic is coming to the forefront with the Caitlyn Jenners, the transgender show. I mean, I could think of even Atlanta Housewives this year is going to have a gay character or what have you. Gay Atlanta Housewives or Housewives of Atlanta. I'm sorry, however So, how do you feel about on Love and Hip Hop? It's two characters, Miles and Milan.
I think that's a publicity stunt. I'm sorry.
I feel like that, but again, that's why I said sometimes do you feel like people...
Yeah, I've seen them out.
I've seen them out, but I don't know how real. I don't know, but sometimes I feel like people act for the. When I asked you about acting for the camera, the producers are there, the camera is there. You're going to be seen. You have an audience. It's almost like you're playing to that audience. But these two, have you ever watched that show?
I do.
Oh, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, how do you feel about, or how in a therapeutic situation? How does someone deal with coming out to the public if they've never even came out to their family? Is that to me that sounds backwards, but I'm not a therapist, so that's just my opinion. I feel like before we even got to know his music or anything, he led with this personal story that I'm so interested in. I'm captivated by what's going on. But how does that work from, if you were giving therapy to this type of individual?
It's interesting. I can't really speak on the show because I felt the same way. It was kind of done a little, where maybe we talked to the parents first or what have you. It sounds like he was struggling with coming out, period, and maybe pushed a little bit or feeling like he had to or he was under pressure. But in general, if someone comes in for gender identity issues or struggling with things similar to what those cast members were dealing with on Love and Hip Hop, we really just talk it through because a lot of times they're really struggling with their identity. They don't want to come out, and a lot of people just keep it to themselves. I mean, I find a lot of people keep it to themselves. I have clients that I deal with that do not tell their parents. They don't tell their family. They will, though, tell a few friends.
Right.
And usually those friends are the same as, they are, what have you. But it really just depends. That's kind of like a hard question, just because, it's difficult. Because my study was basically people who just keep it on the low and they just don't come out and they don't consider themselves to be bisexual or gay. So they primarily will have sex with other men, but they do not consider themselves to be gay.
So some of them may be married or in a relationship, or...
It's just a part of the culture, the environment. Yeah, so my study was definitely on that, and come to find out, like, people would talk about it, but they considered themselves to be still straight and not bisexual, gay. It was just the culture. If you're in prison, if you're in military, or wherever you're at, and this is the culture or the environment, then it's okay to do. And that's what the research, or my research, said.
So what did you get from that study going into, I guess, talking with clients and helping them through it? Like, is it something that they just can, it's just a behavioral thing? Because, I mean, in my mind, same sex is, you know, whether it's it still has a classification. So do you help them deal with, like, terminology? I know how when Caitlyn Jenner came out, it was like, well, now we have to use new pronouns or stuff like that. So is that what therapy will go into?
Therapy, primarily, with something like that,
Right.
would be more so, it's just really helping an individual understand their identity. And usually if someone comes in, they're struggling with that.
Right.
If there's someone like, let's just say Miles, for instance, and he's struggling and doesn't want to tell, he would come into therapy to deal with that because he's struggling.
Oh, and actually, on the show, one of them did, which,
Miles.
Miles.
Yeah.
Oh, that's his name? Okay, Miles did go to therapy, but it was to reveal it to his longtime girlfriend or
Right,
something.
right. So maybe had he gone into therapy earlier, and I can't, because I don't know his history, maybe he did, then that therapist could have helped him possibly tell people sooner, maybe really figure things out. Or he mentioned on the show that he had always had these feelings, or he had these feelings early on and didn't understand why. You know, so going into therapy, the therapist could have helped him reveal where those feelings came from, first encounters. You know, there's a lot of different factors. I mean, people a lot of times have been molested early on by same sex.
Right.
And so if they've never had sexual encounters before, and let's just say that it was made to feel good, but, you know, this is wrong.
You
and
think
then,
it's wrong.
Yeah. And then, you know, it's just a totally different,
complicated.
yeah, it's very complicated.
I just felt like for that show particularly, it just led with that storyline, and we couldn't even, I don't know about his music, I couldn't even get through anything else. I was like, doesn't he do music? Or one acts? That's the only thing I know about them two. So sometimes I feel like with all these reality shows, I think it's great. I think programming, if it's good content, I enjoy couples therapy because I'm like, oh, okay. I get, like, you can always learn from someone else's experience, but with Love and Hip Hop, I think the platform is being kind of misguided when we're just paying attention on looking. And it's just my opinion. I'm not a therapist, but I wanted to know if it sounded backward. It feels backwards.
Yeah, and I mean, if everything is accurate, I mean, I commend him for coming out. If this is the way that he decided to do so, I mean, but he came out with it, and there are people who support him, and I help all.
I know.
So, hey, any and everyone.
So, recently I know that you contributed to, like, some panels with the, what is it, Screen Actors Guild? Did you work with
SAG,
them?
yes.
SAG, okay. So, how is it when, I think it was Mental Health Comes to Hollywood.
Yes.
Do you feel people are kind of intimidated to talk about that subject?
Oh, yes, absolutely. There is a stigma attached to mental health. I mean, even in our community, I think that if you go to therapy, or what I've learned, if you go to therapy, then that means something is wrong with me. Or better yet, anyone who doesn't know anything about me, they can't tell me anything about me. Even if you're book smart, you know about the world, you know what's going on. If you don't know me, how can you tell me something about me, or tell me what's wrong with me, or tell me what I need to do? So
From a therapist perspective?
No, from an individual.
Personal.
I'm
Okay,
sorry,
yeah,
from
yeah.
personal. The taboo, you know, just what people think. But I believe that with education, and then also those individuals who believe in that taboo or follow that stigma, once they see positive results, then they're maybe more prone to going into treatment or to therapy. I mean, nowadays people are doing therapy. I mean, don't get me wrong, but there are still a handful of people who are just like, no, I can figure it out myself, or they're forced into therapy.
So how could you, as someone like seeking help, they feel like they have a few issues, but they don't really know about therapy. They don't know what it means. Like, talking to you, I'm just like, oh, okay. How do you, it's not really good to self-diagnose yourself, but how do you know that you're dealing with something so complex that is kind of bigger than you? What are some of the telltale signs that you would you know, say if someone felt like they needed help?
Usually, I won't say usually, but other people will probably notice things. Because you're right, some individuals don't know. And they may not even try to seek out assistance, you know, just because they just might be thinking like this is a transition or what have you. But a lot of times, or at least with kids or even adults, if you see me and I'm looking a certain kind of way, you might say to me, hey, something is kind of off or something is wrong. And then you might, you know, encourage me to go into treatment. Because a lot of times people are in denial that there is something wrong with them or what have you. So it's sometimes, or a lot of times, a lot of people will just kind of encourage the other person to go in.
How does that work with kids? Because I've seen kids like go through, they're like the product of a divorce. And I have a friend that has a daughter and a son, and the son react like he wants to fight at school a lot. And she's like, I don't know, maybe he needs his father in his life. But I mean, nothing about counseling came up. But I'm just saying, like, how early is it? When is too soon?
I see kids from 0 to 19.
Can't talk to you.
They can't talk, but if they've been exposed to domestic violence, there's certain techniques that we can, you know, find out. Startle responses. If I come into a room and a baby, like I was assessing a baby 6 months old, and if I clap my hands, or there's certain techniques that we do, and they appear to be startled, then that means that we may need to do therapy with this baby because they were exposed to domestic violence. Babies
like an infant child.
Yes. We do therapy with babies. Yeah, it's real. It's really real, and we want to, because when a child comes into this life, I mean, we're talking to a baby when they're in our stomach. So imagine when they're born and they're amongst their parents, and there's a domestic violence dispute. You could really disrupt, you know, how they see things or how they view things. I mean, or will end up viewing things, what have you. But mainly, it's more so like a startle response that we're looking for.
So, say a 5-year-old, when he goes to school and he's like kicking and fighting kids, do you think that's something where he would need therapy?
It would mean that he needs to be assessed.
To assess that? Okay, yeah.
We would need, the teachers primarily would let us know, hey, his behaviors are a little different, something is going on or what have you, and then the counselor would come in to assess to find out what's going on or what have you. But usually there's a stressor going on in the home, or a lot of times, I won't say usually, but a lot of times there's something going on in the home that would trigger a kid to react or act that way. Kicking, fighting kids, something in the home, they might have witnessed something, maybe somebody's hitting on them or what have you.
Or they're just acting out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to see you in your element. I found a clip from VH1's Couples Therapy. It's a new season. It's back. I remember, you know, just the same-sex gender. We keep coming back to that. I remember watching. This wasn't this season, but last season watching Kendra and her. Was it Kendra?
That's another.
Is it?
Show.
Oh my God.
That's okay.
No. Oh, is it? That was? Okay, my bad. Anyway, this season is a doozy because Janet Dickinson has such a loud mouth. She's...
Oh, good old... I mean, when you're the first supermodel... Pineapples.
I know they took to each other, but Joe Budden is a doozy. So we have something where one of the residents... Do they like to come and just ask you questions?
Yes.
Do you feel a lot of your friends always need therapy around you because you're so neutral?
Yes. Yes. Actually, we were trained on that. We don't give therapy to friends. No,
you don't?
We try not to, yeah.
Yes, you do. It's called advice.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I need some advice, doctor.
I know.
Sure.
It's
Doc,
advice.
I need some dating advice in Los Angeles, California.
All right. I got you.
All right.
Let's see what you do, Dr. Keisha. I have to schedule an appointment.
Are you feeling any...
Relief,
A little bit, like relief?
like baggage off, like
Yeah.
a heaviness taken out. Yeah, I did. I learned, you know, like today I could really say like I learned something because I'm starting to realize that like I hid everything, like because I love her so much that I don't want to see her sad. I love seeing my wife happy.
Right.
So when I'm always the type that I was like I'm never gonna make my girl sad, my wife sad, anybody like that I love.
You're not really speaking your mind and saying what you really want to say. You're holding it in somewhere.
I was scared of what the response was gonna be.
Right.
You know, and maybe I most of the time thought that it was gonna push us away instead of closer.
Yeah.
I learned today that it's not that. It's beyond that. It's me being 100% honest and telling her this is why I don't like. It's gonna better the person that you're with. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You should be able to express yourself to her. You're gonna keep it real with her.
Exactly. I feel like I came here for an issue that I thought that's what we came here for, and I feel like I'm basically learning who I am.
Yeah.
So, which I like.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
I know. I'm excited.
Yay.
Now I'm gonna go to bed because I think she's gonna come too late.
And she's gonna wake you up.
She's gonna wake me up. Have a good night.
All right, see you tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, Doc. All right. I like that. I see you, Doc.
I think part of therapy is also feeling like they have a support system.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
You know, a sounding board that's not coming from any place of other than just I'm listening.
Right, exactly. I mean, I just want to add that, again, people when they come in, they think we're fixers, and we're not fixers. We're a guide. We're here to give you a set of tools to utilize outside of the session. We're here to reconstruct faulty notion, mistaken beliefs or what have you that were formed early on.
That's in your head.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, exactly.
So what is next for you, Dr. Keisha?
Well, I am just implementing balance. I am just doing me and working hard, just building my...
You have your private practice?
Yes, I have my private practice. I have 100 million jobs, but yeah.
Okay.
Private practice, continuing to work with juvenile youth and foster care children, and just helping people as best as I can, being a platform to just give whatever I can and educate individuals on mental health.
Do you treat only in person, or is there ever therapy that's done on the phone?
I try to stay away from over the phone,
Okay.
but I do travel to clients, and then I see clients in private practice as well, like who come to my office.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I'm all over the place.
Okay. Well, I applaud you and all your efforts. How can people get and stay in touch with you or follow you? Come to a panel sometimes that you're on, a discussion, just to learn, get some insight.
Well, my Instagram and Twitter is Dr. Keisha Downey.
Okay.
I should spell that out. And my website is also, I'll spell it out, DrKeishaDowney. And then my website is drkeishadowney.com. And you can find out everything, what's going on with me or what have you, and I'm just here to support.
Yes, yes. Great
Procter
pictures,
and
Doc.
Gamble.
That's great.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate that. We're going to have you come in. I think that I think everyone needs a therapist in some way. You know, it's not always, it's about helping you work through stuff.
Exactly. The littlest things.
The littlest things.
Yes.
Why?